burst your podcast bubble?
No, yeah, you guys are the first podcast I've ever been on. Somebody else asked me to be on their podcast before. I'll talk about that if you want to.
All right,
funny.
3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the EG Pot of Thunder with your boy, the young light-skinned Keith Sweat, here with my guy.
Hello, it's me. I'm back.
The occasional rotating co-host, my guy, Bo Vieira. And we're here with my guy from SF, my guy, Joe.
From SF, live and in color, I'm Joe.
Yeah, like I said,
Good to meet you, Joe.
we kind of had a little bit of a blooper, so we're going to recreate this magic. I'm not sure if you knew, but SF is what you refer to as San Fran as. Well, SF as. You don't refer to San Francisco as San Fran.
You don't call it San Fran.
No, you don't call it San Fran at
Why
all.
is that?
I can't tell you why, but you just don't call it San Fran.
It's uncouth over there.
It's uncouth. You either call it SF or the city.
Yeah. All right.
The city.
The city.
The city.
The city of the United States of America is only in San Francisco. Or SF, my bad.
You're not allowed to call your local city the city. It's the city is the city way over there on the West Coast.
Way over there behind me. Yeah, no. And the reason why you call it the city, though, is because for the San Francisco Bay Area, that is the city.
Their city.
Their city.
Makes
yes.
sense.
Yeah, you gotta get people the vernacular when they come out here to visit.
They gotta get hip to what's going on over there. They can't
call it San Fran.
bring their culture over there, and you can't, and vice versa. You know,
it's two different cultures out there, bro.
I believe it. I haven't been to the West Coast in a long time.
Where have you been in the West Coast?
I've got family that lives in San Diego, and
I
so
have no idea. You
yeah.
Oh, San Diego's nice.
San Diego's very nice,
You been
actually.
there?
Yeah.
San Diego's nice. I agree with that. San Diego's nice.
Yeah.
If you had the choice, would you pick San Diego or SF?
You know, that's really interesting that you say that, because when I originally moved out to California, San Diego was on the table.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It ended up being off the table due to the fact that apparently I couldn't interview for jobs very well.
That happens.
Well, we should have been.
You gotta learn. You're not born with the ability to interview well. Some people might be, but
I feel like there's some like bias behind there, because I was in HR for a little bit, and there would be people when I was like first like shadowing HR interviews, and I'm like, oh, that person did pretty well, and they're like, no. I'm like, what?
Really?
Why didn't they do good? And then he's the person, it was the female. She'd be like, oh no, well, they said this and they said that, and that was wrong. I'm like, how was that wrong? That was fucking.
They're looking for a specific answer from candidates.
It was just weird. I feel like you can kill it, because I would think this person killed it, and then vice versa, like the other person in the room, nope, they didn't do good.
No, they're not what we're looking for the position.
Sense.
No, so I'll clarify and say that and a job interview is talking about yourself. And I think I'm really good about talking about myself. And so what had happened is that I was like coming out of college, and I was interested in a few things that I learned in college. And I didn't really stop to think about what the actual job that I was doing was going to be. So a background on me, I'm a licensed professional civil engineer in the state of California currently.
That's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful.
I heard civil engineer.
You're a civil engineer. Is that what you say? Like,
I am a civil engineer, yes, but also licensed and professional. So don't get that twisted.
Wait, so can you be licensed and not be professional?
Yeah.
Well, that's what the license says.
License. License lets you know he's doing it on a professional level. Civil engineer meaning what? You're like working directly with the state or with the local township?
Yeah, so what I do is I work for a private consulting firm, and we basically get hired by the state or by different cities to do work in their city, because most cities don't have enough staff to be able to, they don't have enough staff or enough expertise to be able to do or carry out a lot of the projects that they want to do. So they hire us to be able to do that for them.
Interesting.
So going back to this job interview, I was in college, and I really liked the aspect. So I'm in transportation, so like roadways, traffic signals, and different things like that.
Just real quick, because I'm a novice in this. Like, I mean, we talked about it in the past, like when I went to go visit you and stuff. But
yeah,
you can put knowledge on me on this aspect, this part.
Yeah,
What other options would there be? If there would be transportation, then what other aspects of it, civil engineering could you be
civil
in?
engineering is boring AF, I'll tell you that. Like, if I ever had the opportunity to go back and do something else, I would have been like, absolutely not that. But I enjoy doing what I do. It's just like, in hindsight, I'm like, man, I should have been like a computer engineer and been killing it with money, especially out here. But
Is it the same aspect? It's just different, like in like architecture and then like computer engineering.
I mean, civil engineering is the lowest paid of all the engineering jobs, like mechanical, electrical, chemical. But Lord knows I can't do chemistry to save my life, so that was not on the table at all.
That's high paying though.
No, it's
chemical engineer. You'd be working for Raytheon.
No, actually, I wouldn't be working for Raytheon. To work at Raytheon, you got to give up your dual citizenship, which I'm not willing to do.
Wait, why would you have to give up your dual citizenship?
Because they work directly with the U.S. government making bombs to use in the wars and shit.
Yeah, so no, like I remember they used to be a big sponsor at Northeastern, which is where I went to school in Boston, and they used to always say that it's like you can't have dual citizenship.
Yeah, you got to be American first.
Yeah. But anyway, so
Joe's like, that's really not happening.
Yeah.
No, hell no. I was like, why would I give him my dual citizenship? Yeah. I feel like I'm more proud to be.
Well, make bombs for this country. Fuck them.
And this country's trash, to be quite honest.
It can be. Certainly can be.
Yeah. So, civil engineering is very broad. You can do, there's like 3 or 4 main things. So, transportation, environmental, structural, and construction. And so I was also terrible at structural. That's like the most boring one. It's the most math involved. Like literally, it's like you're calculating weights on beams and things like that. I was like, absolutely.
Hell, you know, yeah.
I was like, no. But everybody thinks that they want to do that in the beginning. Because everybody likes buildings and the way bridges look. And they're like, oh, I want to be a structural engineer.
It probably pays pretty good too.
Actually, you know what? Structural pays less than transportation.
Really?
So I wouldn't have guessed that. You're not the lowest.
Interesting.
Within civil, I guess I'm not the lowest.
Within his own bracket, for sure. That's good. That's good.
So I chose transportation in the end because it's like the chance. It's like the one where you get to interact with people the most. You know, working with different public agencies and stuff like that. When a lot of times when you do projects, you have to let people know what you're doing, especially because it impacts like their commutes or whatever. And so you got to have a public outreach component of your project where you say, hey, like, I'm going to like repave your road. Your street is going to be closed from this day to that day.
Wait, so you're going up to houses and telling them that?
It depends. It depends on the platform. Sometimes you write them letters of notices to say that we're doing that. Other times you have like, especially now with the pandemic, you have Zoom meetings to tell them that you're thinking about doing this in their area.
I have been in Providence my entire life. There's always repayments of roads. I have never.
I've never been notified.
Notified in my life.
No one's ever told me. Shot me an email.
Person.
Nothing.
Contact your local person. They're supposed to tell you about all of these things.
That's like legalities, like in every state. That's supposed to be.
I don't know if it's like a legality, but it's basically like you're using people's tax dollars, so you got to let them know what you're using their tax dollars for.
That's a great point because I can't count how many times fucking construction's fucked up my commute. And it's my tax dollars supposedly going to, you know, fix the roads, fix the infrastructure around here. If I'm living locally, you should let me know, hey, if you travel this road, you know, often on your way in, like even if it's not, it'd be nice to know. Yeah, from then till then, we're gonna be fucking it all up. It'd be nice to know.
Bro, I was heated, bro. I went home. It was 10:30 at night. I don't know where the fuck I was coming from. I don't know. Probably fucking out somewhere. Coming home, I was in traffic. I'm not sure you know that fucking like where exit 14B is.
Yeah.
Bro, I was there for 45 minutes. It should take 2 minutes.
There's like infinite construction happening right in that area.
And then I didn't
my
know.
whole life, there's 14B has had the exit 14 and all of its counterparts have had construction.
It was like two lanes until one, and then they weren't letting nobody go. And I was just sitting there, bro, for 45 minutes at 10:30 at night. I would have been cool to have been notified that this was fucking happening.
That would be nice. And they're doing that over there on the West Coast.
Well,
or they're trying. At least they're trying.
Yes, it's funny though, but it's like I will say that the most difficult part about being a transportation engineer is that every Joe and Bob and Dylan thinks that they know what's going on because they have a driver's license. And the truth of the matter is they don't. What happens with road
What do you mean by that?
So with road closures, they can only really happen at night because otherwise it's impacting people's like actual commute.
You can't really close a road.
So road closures, especially on freeways, will only be allowed to happen in California. They can only happen between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m.
That makes sense. That makes
so
that.
When you're out there, you get caught up. That is unfortunate. It's definitely happened to me as well.
So there's no way to know that. It's only on like streetways you're saying you get notified.
Right. But like they're supposed to technically, I know that projects I've worked on in the past, there's something called a transportation or traffic management plan, and you're supposed to let people know. And these things get approved months in advance, by the way. That's the other thing I wanted to give you guys a peek about. These decisions get made months and months and months in advance to close it at a specific time. In Rhode Island, you guys have a specific other issue, is that you can't do construction during the winter. And so that typically will extend the time that like a lane is closed. Because if like they get to like November and they're not done with their project, guess what? It's being pushed all the way into the spring of next year so that you can then go back and
So that's why
you gotta work around
in
weather.
Pawtucket, I'm sure you know, like exit 27, that shit took like my entire life. It's like, what is taking so long?
You'll spend months of your life in traffic there. You'll spend
which is a problem we don't have here, because basically here we have droughts and shit, which like I had, you know, I understand the concept of a drought, but I have never really in my life experienced something like this. Like when I tell you it doesn't rain between February and November, not one time it rains. Which is good for like a fit. It's like you never have to worry about bringing an umbrella or getting your shoes dirty.
He goes, it's good, when you want to look good. You never got to worry about getting rained on.
And no, exactly. But the other thing is crazy. It's like growing up in Rhode Island, like, you like the first thing you do in the morning is you check the weather.
You know what's crazy? I never did. Every day was a surprise.
Oh, no, you gotta. You can't.
Every day was a surprise.
Hell no.
Even still, I don't.
Religiously. I still do it today. And I'm like, oh, it's 72 and sunny. Like I look at
you're like, yo, Tony Machaka, what's going on tonight?
As soon as you start really going outside out here, the weather is you got everything kind of works around it. Is it nice? We're gonna get lit. If it's not, well, we're gonna get lit inside.
I feel like me and Joe were like, yo, if it's raining, it's snowing, sunny, we're getting lit no matter what. So it don't even matter.
Oh, there's always something happening, but it's got to maneuver around what the clouds are doing.
But this is actually like a good. So here we don't have that issue. I mean, they don't do construction when it rains, but like it's typically that issue doesn't really exist. But you know, construction takes a really, really long time. The other thing I wanted to tell y'all, I don't know about Rhode Island, but at least here, the number of lanes that you can close at a specific time is based on the total number of vehicles that go through this roadway. So like if your roadway has, I don't know, 150,000 vehicles per day or whatever it is, I don't know if that's a good number, but
that seems low.
That seems like a Rhode Island number.
Well, yeah, there you go. Basically, it's like based on the number of vehicles that go through the roadway, you can close a certain number of lanes. Because it's basically like if you have too many vehicles and you try to close too many lanes, it's going to create even more backups. So here you're only allowed to close like 1 or 2 lanes at a time.
You might be one max here.
One max,
yeah.
Well, it's like 2 lanes mostly.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to only have 1 lane if you close one other one.
I be tackling at the traffic in Rhode Island these days because I'm like, y'all really don't know what real traffic is.
No,
for sure we don't. We're spoiled.
That 95.
We're spoiled.
Place mall. I was like, this is it. When I went back, I was like, I remember I used to be so mad about this. Now I'm like, see out here.
It barely even does anything to your day out here. Like,
San Fran, LA,
like you got to plan 3 hours in advance out there.
LA be over the top.
It's a different thing. It's a whole different. It's a different beast.
Now LA's nuts.
San Diego doesn't have a lot of traffic though. I've never really been stuck in traffic.
No, but I hear horror stories about what happens in LA. I can understand. Yeah. I can empathize. I haven't had to sit in it, but you know.
But to wrap around, so like you're doing all this stuff. You're back to interview. We haven't finished interview portion of what happened.
Interview. So I explained transportation is what I do, but like transportation also has like a bunch of different components to it. So I do traffic and like traffic safety, and that's what I was doing when I was an intern in college. But when I was in school, I really liked roadway or highway construction. So like designing freeways. I thought that was like great. And so I go to interview for this job on a traffic team, and I say to them, I want to be a highway engineer. Clearly, that wasn't the right thing to say to them. They was like,
wait, sorry. So why you want to be sorry? Can you repeat that one? I don't know if I dozed off for a second.
I heard it. You were interviewing for a job in that field in traffic, and he said highway engineer, and to the
why
person,
is that bad? That's why I didn't get it.
They weren't looking for a highway engineer, I'm guessing.
No, it's the particular job with that group was going to be working in traffic. So what I needed to say was that, like, I do like traffic. I still work in traffic to this day, but I thought I wanted to do like a mix of both. I didn't realize back then, what I know now is that, like, you should know exactly what group you're interviewing with and what their position that they're looking to fill is. I was over here trying to like put out my dreams and aspirations because I was like, oh, this is going to be like something they're going to like. And they were like, nah, we Gucci.
So what should you have said? I heard what you said. I just didn't get what you said wrong.
What's the difference between like that and like managing traffic and designing highways, so to speak?
Well, that particular group, I need to kind of cut around the story a little bit. I still work at the same company that I interviewed for there, but in a different office. So so I still work with them, and what they do a lot is they do what you call traffic impact analysis studies. And so it's basically like you go and you say you're going to put in a new Dunkin' Donuts at the corner of Broad and wherever, right?
That causes a lot of traffic.
Not that they're already using a freaking Dunkin' Donuts, but basically what the city wants to know is how much traffic is it going to generate in this area. And so you do, like, you put together models and then you write reports on it, which I think that bullshit is boring. Number one, that's like, and so when I say to them, I want to design freeways, that is not what they do.
That's not what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's not what they were looking for. They were looking for somebody to say, I'm passionate about writing. You know, I'm passionate about understanding traffic and working on that.
That's why it's good to learn how to interview. That's what,
But how would you have prefaced that with, like, how would you have known, like,
how
in the field to tell you that?
Were they like specific when like looking for the job? Like, we're looking for someone to fill X, Y, and Z of a position, and you were kind of like, I want to design roads.
Yeah. Well, I think the worst part of it all is like one of my friends from college worked on that team. I could have asked her. I could have been like, what should I say? She would have told me. You know, actually, she recommended me for the job. I was like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I really am thankful it didn't work out. I'm so thankful it didn't work out because I've been to that office since then. And like, it's very different from the office where I work at, and it's just much bigger. And I just don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as I'm enjoying what I'm doing here.
Wait, and that was in San Diego?
San Diego, yeah. This was back in 2014, right before I graduated from college.
Wow.
Was that like a Zoom meeting, or you went there? They flew you out, or what? How
No. So this one, at the company where I work at, what they used to do in the past was you used to have a screening with HR first, and HR loved me. So then they pass you along to whatever team has specific needs. And so they passed me off to San Diego, and I had a call with the team. If I had made it past that call, they would have flew me out to do an in-person interview. So what happened was after that, they were like, yeah, no, unfortunately, you don't fit like the description or the needs that we have on our team. And so HR, like I said, loved me. So they were trying to fill me in the different spot somewhere in California.
That's good.
So they then said, they were like, what about LA? And I was like, yeah, well, sure, I'll do LA. And they were moving forward with somebody at that point. So LA kind of fell off. And then they were just in contact with me for a while. And I remember this process took like
a good months. HR department.
Well, they were really good about it. And so I kind of became I was like, the California thing is not going to happen. And so I remember they like randomly called me right before my spring break. And they were like, Oakland wants to interview you. And I work in a group called ITS. ITS stands for Intelligent Transportation Systems, which is an even more specialized portion of transportation. And so I didn't know what the hell it was, to be quite honest. I had heard about it a little bit through my internship, but I just was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and talk about some of the things that I do know. And it turned out to be like, they loved me. So then they flew me out. And that was the second time I came to the Bay Area. I had been to the Bay Area one time the year before. And so,
did you feel like you're being spoiled, like a sugar mama?
I mean, yeah, it was cool to be flown out. I mean,
they're flying him out, putting him up in a nice place.
Don't get this guy fooled, bro. He got a sugar mama, bro. Someone flew him out to Hawaii.
Is someone sponsoring your lifestyle there, Joe?
Yeah, bro. Look at that, smiling, bro.
Somebody's work is sponsoring my lifestyle.
That's cool. That's the best. That's best. Corporate money sponsoring your lifestyle. That's where it's at, dude.
That's what corporate money's where it's at, and that's why.
I ain't mad at it. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
No, yeah, but I mean,
so we'll get back to that. But get back.
To your story.
Coming back to CF, I was like, I never really thought that it was going to be that type of thing. And to be quite honest, it's actually funny how the California thing even happens, right? So we're talking about weather, talking about Central Falls, we're talking about Rhode Island, and I was so sick of snow. I was like, oh my God. Like,
actually, we haven't talked about CF yet. That was the blooper reel. So we haven't talked about CF at all yet. This actual one that's getting published.
Oh, man. Well, should we then go back to CF first and then land into California?
Well, let's finish your interview story first. So like they flew you out, and then
they flew me out,
and then you got the job.
They offered me the job on the spot.
I'm like,
excellent.
Damn, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's sick.
No, and I was shook. It was like like for me, you know, being from CF, and I'm not even first generation immigrant. I'm fresh off the boat. I was born in Colombia.
Yeah.
So
you came here
having that
young.
having that opportunity, I was like, I got presented the offer, and I remember at the time I was kind of comparing to the amount of money that I would make in Rhode Island, and I was like, oh shit, like,
but also that's true. It's probably a lot more, but also the cost of living out there is quite a bit more than Rhode Island. That's why it has to be that much higher.
The cost of living is definitely more in SF.
That's what I mean. The cost of living out there is much more. So the price, what he gets paid has to be that much higher. But it is also nice to get that much more.
Right, but I wasn't really thinking about it though. I was just like, you know, here I am at 22 years old getting this offer.
300,000.
Nah,
you don't have to do that to him. Edit that out in post.
Yeah, but I was like,
Joe's baller.
No, I do just fine, but I'm not
good.
baller.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
But so I was just like, damn. Like I remember, I was like. But I don't want to like show them my reaction because I don't want them to think that I was like that. Like,
no selling it. No selling it.
I was like, thank you.
But yeah, that's
I was like, yeah.
And now you're like, that's it?
You play it that cool? I don't know if I'd be able to keep a smile off my face if I'm given that number.
No, you gotta. But one of the things I want to say about the amount, and I gotta go into Gen Z a little later because Gen Z is getting on my nerves these days. That's a hot topic.
Go for it.
But, so that's how I ended up moving out here. I remember after I got the offer. So they flew me out like the day before. Then the interview happened, and I flew back. I think I flew back the same day I interviewed, like later that day, because the interview was in the morning. And I remember I had some time to kill, so I drove from Oakland to San Jose and then over to San Francisco to go back to the airport because I was just like, man, like I'm actually gonna be freaking moving here. So let me see what this is about, you know?
Yeah.
How old are you at this point?
Familiarize yourself.
I'm 30.
No, at that point.
No, at that point when you were hired,
at that point I was 22.
Man, that's crazy. So you're like,
that's nuts,
bro. I was doing like hex games at 22.
That's what I'm saying. 22 getting offered something like that is
that's
nuts.
wild.
No, I mean it was like it was crazy. It really was. I feel
so coming full like circle now get to that point like that takes a lot of guts like from you. Like a lot of people don't have that like mindset at that age, like going to school out of Rhode Island, going to school in general. Now I'm like you said, fresh off the boat, not even first generation. So like probably like fresh off the boat, going to school in Boston, then going to San Fran, taking those leaps. Like where do you like?
Fran.
Oh fuck, my bad. The city. I meant
moving to the city.
Moving to the city. So like where like let's get back to like the origins of this. So like let's get back to the original city.
The original square
city.
Mile.
The Sparkle City.
Falls, baby. Central Falls all day. So I was born in Colombia. I was born in Barranquilla. So like similar to Effie's family.
Yes, sir.
We moved to Rhode Island. My dad's oldest sister had been living in Central Falls for like, at that point, I think she'd been living there for like 15 years. And she originally came because her husband's dad got offered a job in like the 70s to come out here and do work. And that's when they were handing out the green cards like left, right, and center. I can't believe that they were like bringing somebody out to do work in Rhode Island.
But you know what's crazy? I'm always like, why Rhode Island? I didn't know like
everywhere was building back then. Yeah, everywhere was building back then.
The mill industry and
so
like that type
wherever
of
you got in is where you got in. If it was the smallest state,
but I was wondering. But there's so many Colombians in CF.
Yeah.
So many Colombians, and we all know each other.
That's crazy.
We're all related in some shape or form.
Yeah, I'm sure me and Joe are related somehow.
I know, literally. It's like, and then we have like all the same friends too.
Yeah, it's the same with us. It's the same with the Portuguese. We're all.
It's crazy because me and Joe know each other like, yo, you know this person, you know John, you know Frankie. He's like, yeah. I
don't, but my family knows them from the.
No, that part, yeah. My aunt knows all of them, right? Yeah. So my aunt, I learned this like later on in life too. My parents always were going to move to the U.S. Like they knew early on that they were going to move to the U.S. when they got married and then they had kids. I never knew that. I found out when I was like in the second grade. I was like, oh, we moving. I was like, all right. So my dad's entire family lives in the US.
I can picture that you as like a kid, like, all right.
I was cool with it.
That was the plan right away. Yeah. What are you going to say? No as a kid?
I mean, I was sad. I was like, because, you're left in Colombia. But I remember my family. We were the last of our immediate family. So my dad's whole immediate family lives in the U.S. So my grandmother passed away last year, but she was living here. My other aunt. So I have 3 aunts, 1 uncle, and they all live here in the U.S. And they all live in either Pawtucket or Central Falls. So I'm the only one in my family who lives extra far. Like, my closest family member is Western Massachusetts.
Wait, so right now?
Right now.
You're the only person that lives far away?
It's Western
That's
Mass.
crazy.
That's the closest.
Western Mass, yeah. They all live like 3 miles away from each other. I'm the only one who decided to fly the coop. So... So, I moved to Central Falls, and I didn't know how to speak English at all when I moved to the U.S. at all. I remember I started going to Elleris School in CF. It was new at the time, and I only did 3 months of the 3rd grade because I moved in March, and school ends in June. So I moved, and they put me in the 3rd grade. I remember the only thing I did in class was look at flashcards with words in English on it. And then the only time I participated in stuff with the class was math, and I have always been really good at math.
The numbers.
I was blowing these kids out of the water. I was like, I don't know what these kids are doing because these fucking times tables are so easy. Like, just get it together, people.
Yeah,
I was just like, kill me.
Like the year we're learning them, you've already mastered them. Like by that point,
yeah. So I was killing it. And
so on the blooper reel, you're saying that. So you always felt like sometimes you were the nerd, but it's weird. Like just being good at like academics doesn't mean you're a nerd, but like you felt that coming from Colombia, like you felt some type of way where you're like, damn, like I'm different, or
no, I mean, I was always good at school, and I think that is often associated with being nerdy, but I would say I'm like the least nerdy person I know, honestly. Like I just like it's a big thing, but I remember I used to remind people to do their homework. I used to copy my homework, but I wasn't like, when people wanted to copy off of me on tests, I didn't give a shit. Like, I don't. That's how I met my best friend from high school. And she was cheating off of me in geometry. The entire class was cheating off of me in geometry.
Damn,
like, I got a good grade in geometry.
They used to be like, ask Joe what the answer to number 1 is and pass it down. They were all like, oh shit, it's this.
Joe made the whole class pass.
Bro, there was I don't know who I cheated on. I know I'm not gonna say her name, but bro, this girl at Saints was the only reason why I passed anatomy, because I was cheating off for the entire time. So people like you,
that was real.
Yo, we need people like you, bro. Not would have failed. Yeah.
I was trying to help out, but so like going back to CF, it was like it's a different like lifestyle there, and like I think that people's parents are like working really hard for their kids to do whatever they're doing, but I also don't feel like there's a lot of kids who have a ton of support from their parents, and so eventually that kind of just leads them to fall off of like the academic track. But I don't know how I was able to do this, but I always had like my mind focused on like the bigger
getting out,
like literally just early on. I remember in the 4th grade, 3rd grade and 4th grade I was in ESL, and then I got out of ESL in the 5th grade, and I remember those kids were so pissed at me. They were like, yo, you're a fucking traitor. I was like, the fuck, get your English together. Maybe you two can get out. Like, I don't know. No, they were literally.
You're a traitor. Bro.
No, they literally.
He was speaking good English.
In the hallway, I was like, what the hell? I was like, I learned, and what the funniest thing is about that though, the way I learned English was, and I say this explains my personality perfectly. I used to watch Arthur religiously on PBS, but then when 6 p.m. rolled around, I was watching 106 in Park. And so I was like, Arthur to 106 in Park. You
learn how you learned,
And so, I could be...
Yo, he's watching Freestyle Fridays, bro. He's like, yo.
AJ and Free? Literally. So
look, that was everyone's our age's like vibes. Go home, 106 in Park.
For sure.
106 in Park. And so I figured I learned how to speak English pretty fast, but most kids do. Like most kids can pick up a new language like immediately. So, I'm doing my thing, and eventually I get to middle school where I went to Calcut. That's where I met our mutual friend Laura.
Shout out to Laura.
Shout out to Laura. And it was funny because at the time at Calcut they do this thing where they split you up into teams. And all of my friends got put in the other team, and I got put in the team that was majority ESL. It had 2 mainstream classes. I was pissed. I was like, "Oh Lord, not the dream team!" No.
You're like, yo, they set me up. What the fuck is going on here?
They set me the fuck up. And so, like, all of my friends was on the Legends team.
They probably thought they were doing you a favor, too.
I mean, eventually I got past that, but it was whatever. So,
Lauda was on the Legends team?
No, Lauda was on Dream Team. That's where we met.
Oh, the Dream Team? Oh, wait.
Yeah, but, like, our other friends were all on Legends team. Literally, almost everyone else we knew. And so it was like, oh, man. But at the time, there wasn't, like, social media or anything like that. So you basically just saw each other walking to school or around. I remember at Calcut, people would get to school early and, like, walk around the school just to, like, catch up or whatever. When they wasn't fighting. When they weren't taking off their earrings, talking about, bitch, you said that. And then they was best friends the next day. That shit was funny.
You and Lauda was squaring up or what?
No, but we were not troublemakers. Lauda and I actually, we finished out our career at Calcut as the top male and top female student of the Extreme team, which is what we were in the 7th and 8th grade.
Fire.
So the two of us were both always really good at school, and we joke about that now. We used to like push each other, like, because the two of us can be a little bit academically competitive, and I was like, hell no, what's Lauda again on this? I'm about to get
Bro. Real quick, at Saints, I was in a religion class. That religion class was the only class where like you couldn't be like academically like biased. Where like it's like A squad, B squad, C squad.
Right. Yeah.
I was in the A squad religion class. Like it was all the
people who are really into religion.
Not religion. Into grades.
Just getting a good grade.
Yeah, bro. It was like everyone in our class. Imagine the top. Like 20 people.
So everyone who would have already been in A classes anyway, it was just in this religion class.
And then me, Gene, and like Vanessa. And like someone else.
What did you guys do?
Bro, we were getting shit on, bro. Everyone's like, what did you get? What you get? Oh, you got a 99? I got a 100. What you got? I got a 98. Effie, what you get? Get the fuck out of here, bro.
You better talk to one of those.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
You better talk to one of those 99s and get.
Bro, you know what I got, motherfucker. I'm in the back. I can't even cheat off nobody. What the fuck? I didn't give a shit. I was heated, bro. So like, there's that like doing that competition over there, and it's like I didn't give a shit in high school. I'm over here in the A class. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
But that's like going back to what I'm saying. It's like I always gave a shit, and I think that's kind of what made me feel like I was a little bit nerdy because I always really cared. Like no matter what, I was like, you know what? I need to do well in school. I need to be like at the top, and it is what it is. And so I remember that's when people started. The biggest complaint that they had about me back in the day was that like people used to be like, "Oh, you think you're better than everybody," and I'm like, I don't think I'm better than anybody. I just like. I had a vision. I always had a vision, and I was like, let me carry out this vision, and whatever it takes.
Let's get more. We're getting more Trulies, not bad. People are like, it's always that debate. Like, you're trying to make it like subtle in the background, like, okay, more. Like, you don't like when people get up. But it's like, sometimes people gotta piss, bro. Like, damn, it's not live, but we gotta piss sometimes, you know?
Hey, I've been drinking a little bit of water, so I'm afraid I'm gonna have to go too. But I'm feeling good right now.
So what you're saying, so like the competition of the aspect of it is you feel nerdy and...
Yeah, and so, I mean, but I always knew that, like, I was gonna go to college and stuff like that. Like, I knew that.
So, like, did you, so you were in Calcut, you were in CF, you're in these environments... And I'm not sure if people know, but you went to the South, so you feel like you had to make that jump from like, this is not trying to shit on. I know we have a whole bunch of people who listen from CF and Pawtucket. I'm not trying to shit on you guys, but it's just like that, just facts. LaSalle's like a better school. So like, do you feel like you had to go make that jump from like Central Falls to LaSalle to like to feed that like competitive nature in you, academics?
No, not at all, to be quite honest. You know what was funny is like that was a whole story on its own. But I did end up going to CF High freshman year of high school. And I remember if people have told me this, I was the number 1 ranked student at CF High class of 09 when I was there. So I would have been the valedictorian if I had stayed at CF. But my older brother was going to LaSalle already. And he got introduced to LaSalle through some of his teachers at Calcut, and they ended up putting money together for him, and he got a scholarship. And so like they sent him there because they were like, you have like more potential than like sticking in the Central Falls school system. So they wanted him to go to LaSalle.
See, guys, it's not just me. It's people in CF too.
His teacher had gone to LaSalle, so she knew what LaSalle was about. And so at his graduation, the president of the school at the time, Brother Michael, came up to me and was like, "Oh, is this your brother?" He said he came up to my brother to congratulate him, And then he was like, "Oh, is this your younger brother? Where do you go to school?" And I was like, "Oh, I go to Central Falls High School." And he was like, "Do you want to come to LaSalle?" I was like, I don't know. But like, apparently he was like dead ass serious about this. And I guess my brother followed up in the conversation with him. He ended up getting me into the school and offering me a full ride to go to LaSalle. That's how it happened. And so I didn't want to go.
You can't deny that though. But like at that point, you're probably like, "Yo, I'm with my friends." Like,
I was in my bag of like my friends. I'm doing well at CF High. Like all these people I've grown up with and I've known for a really long time. I was like, man, like I don't want to go to LaSalle. I think it's gonna be totally different. You know, I don't know anybody there.
I'm sure it was completely different.
But then that was the second time that people called me a traitor, and they were done with me after that. No, they were literally like, once I exited CF, they stopped fucking with me altogether.
But in hindsight, though, that probably made you who you are, and is probably best off for you. Would you say that, or do you think if you stayed at CF, would you be in that same trajectory, or maybe better? Looking back on that.
Looking back at it, I think my time at LaSalle really did impact my life positively. Like I was, it like showed me, because LaSalle was like no joke when it came to the academics. I was over there, I was like, oh shit, I rolled in and I was like, damn, I gotta shape up, because I was I wasn't ready for this.
So I don't want to, let's take it step by step. So again, I'm not trying to shit at anybody for CF or whatever. People, the CF loyalists get offended, but when you're so there is a difference. I mean, you can speak to it to yourself. You're in CF your freshman year, then you transferred. So is there really a difference in that academic?
Oh, bro, it was wild. Like, it kind of reminds me of what people go through when they go to schools that maybe are not like the best at preparing you for college, and they go through that wake up call freshman year, and like, oh shit, like I really got to get my shit together and like really study more or whatever. That's how I felt going from CF to LaSalle. So I remember you were talking about the A class or whatever it was at LaSalle. The honors classes were called .1. So I was in all honors classes when I transferred, except for geometry. For whatever reason, and it's because I was taking a class in CF. This is the reason why I was taking a class in CF that was like a pilot, and the class was an online math class. And you could go, before the pandemic existed and that sort of thing happened, it was an online math class and you could go at your own pace. I remember it was like the lessons were so easy, and I was in the class was like with people who I felt like just weren't really like into school at all. So I remember they used to keep track of like your progress. So this was mine, like this. Everyone else was like this. So I remember I was like 40 lessons ahead of everybody else or whatever the hell it was.
There you go.
So thanks to that class, I got put into non-honors math. So I roll up, the best example I can give of this, I roll up to French class. Shout out to Mademoiselle, I should have named her name, teacher at Central Falls High, but the only thing I learned in that class was how to sing the alphabet in French. So I roll into my
Wait, can you still do it?
Class. I can still do it. You want me to do it?
Yeah,
do it right now. You have to do it right now.
I speak a little bit of French myself now, so this is like the easy part. So it goes A, B, C, D, E, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. There you go.
Oh.
That's it?
That's it.
Why does that feel so much shorter than?
we had a quiz where we had to sing the song in under a minute. That was the quiz. So like, just putting that kind of the background for that.
That took like 10 seconds.
But some people couldn't do it. So anyway, I roll into honors French class at LaSalle, and they're like, "Yo, she starts speaking in French," and I said, "Wow." And everybody was like, "Oh yeah, me proud of that." I was like, "Oh hell no!" And then, she had the unspeakable audacity to give us a quiz on that first day. I was like, "She's like, we're just reviewing the things we learned last year." I was
like, "Bitch, I can do the ABCs in 10 minutes, 10 seconds. That's it."
So I remember, here's little 15-year-old me. I get up and I say, "Madame McVeigh, yeah, I'm gonna fail this test because I don't really know that much. I just want to give you a heads up that I'm gonna get like a 0." And she was like, "Just try your best, try your best." And I was like, I didn't learn this at my previous school, and like I'm like trying to figure it out. And she's like, "Just give it your best shot." I did end up failing.
What a 10! What a 10!
I don't remember what the actual grade was, but I didn't know shit in that fucking quiz. Like I knew not one single thing, like nothing. And so that was just like that showed me again, I have to shape up. And I went from being like the valedictorian or top of the class. I was somewhere like in the middle at that point, or like towards the lower half of people. I was like, damn, these kids are smart.
Yeah, again, I'm not, fuck it. I already prefaced it one time. Fuck it. I'm not trying to, yeah, if you get offended from CF, fuck it. I'm not trying to offend you guys, but it's just facts. Bro, if you're from CF, like, it's crazy when you go from, like, a CF or, like, a Shea, Tolman, anyway, Mount Pleasant class, go like, oh, I'm on the top of the class. I'm not trying to shit on you, but, like,
to a school where people pay for their kids to go
bro,
there.
If you're at Hendricken, bro, LaSalle, even Saints, bro. We went to Saints. I'm not trying to knock on it, bro.
With some smart kids. You know, we went to school with some kids who were putting in effort.
Yeah, like, bro. Like when you go to, like, these kids put an effort, like, say if you're at CF or Pawtucket, like anywhere Pawtucket, Tolman, Shea, Pleasant, those kids who are putting those effort in for, like, sports, there's kids who put those effort in for school. And I'm not putting that fucking effort in for school.
Like, being at the top of the class is like, that's like, no, that's the leaderboard. Yeah. That's the scoreboard to them.
Like
that's what they're trying to, yeah,
that's like them trying to make D1 for like football. Yeah.
I have a nice bow on this, so you don't have to give your disclaimers, because there is I learned a lot through this situation, and since I've gotten older, I've reflected a whole lot of that. So at LaSalle, LaSalle is where I've learned that racism was real, because at TF, everybody there was like, white people were the minority, to be honest. So everybody was like Colombian, everybody was Guatemalan, Puerto Rican, whatever. So I never had any issues with diversity. When I go to CF, I go to LaSalle, I was like, where's the people of color? Oh, we're all sitting at the same lunch table.
Yeah, you guys are all in one section.
Yeah. All the people of color in every single grade used to sit at the same lunch table. I look back at that and think it's wild how we literally segregated ourselves. And we was like, every single grade, I would be like, all right. Because at LaSalle, we used to go to lunch by grade. So whenever I had lunch with the juniors, I'd be like, all right, where's the people of color table? Let me go roll up to them. No, like, literally.
Now, even at Saints, like, our class was probably one of the least, like, after we left, though, there was really a lot of diversity at Saints. Because they were struggling trying to get, like numbers in. Like, everyone's going to LaSalle or Hendy. So, like, at Saints, it was really diverse at Saints. But our class was probably the least, was probably the last majority white class. Yeah, we had, like, maybe, like, we had a decent amount. Like 15, bro. At most.
In the whole class?
Yes.
There's more than that.
People that no way, bro.
In the whole class?
Max.
Okay, so hang on. So is it maybe 100 people class, 99 at most? You're saying only 15?
We had like 130 in our class.
It's more than 100?
Yeah,
I'm shocked it's more than 100.
Bigger classes. 130. That's nothing. Hendy has nothing.
Yeah,
bro, Hendy, bro.
Ours was 3-something.
Yeah, bro. Hendy, Brandon's like,
that
bro,
might
we have
be
500 kids in our class. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
500 in your class? We have like 500 in our school.
That's the whole school.
Yeah, I'm like,
shout out to Saints, though. My best friend Elisa, who you know, went to Saints.
He probably knows her too.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so.
Her class sucked though.
I know you always talk about their class. They always come for you.
El Ray's class.
The class before us
sucked.
At everything.
See?
At everything.
Bro, they sucked.
At everything.
Don't do
everything.
like
I like a lot of people from that class, but they were terrible at being a class.
On the podcast, bro. You guys sucked at everything,
They have a lot of things.
Yeah, our
every
class
Spirit Week,
shit.
we crushed you.
Yeah, we crushed you. We crushed them at Spirit Week.
My hands of this because my homies are all class of 09.
Sucked, bro. They sucked. They were terrible. They were terrible. Come.
They won't. There's very few in numbers.
Bro, they had like 70 kids in their class, bro.
No,
probably 10 minorities at most.
Yeah. At the most, they had like 7.
It lands off there.
They had like 90 kids, 7 black kids. Not a lot of athletic talent in that.
No, that class sucked at everything, bro. But our class,
they had Wayne. Wayne was athletic.
He's white.
He's a lineman. Listen, I'm not gonna have you sit here and talk about us like we don't have athleticism in some form or another.
But we're talking about minorities. It was our minorities, bro.
Minorities.
In our class, we had like 15 kids max. It was like me, Gene, Niall.
There weren't that many.
There's not that many. So like,
I would have said 20 to 25. You think it was that literally less than 20?
Like me, Gene, Niall, like Nate, Gene.
I'm probably mixing in people from other classes and shit.
Tevin's sister.
We had a lot of Spanish girls.
Jose.
I feel like
Carolina, Vanessa. Kind of ends there, bro. We had like 10 people.
I don't have the yearbook in front. I didn't even get the yearbook, so I don't.
Me neither, bro. What the fuck kind of shit is that? But
it shows you how much we really cared about our time spent there at Saints.
My mom probably didn't pay for it.
Shout out to them though. I do appreciate.
But getting back to it, we're riffling right now. But like, this is how the podcast usually happens. We have no topics ahead of time, but we always talk for a while.
Just for about whatever.
Yeah, so like, so like you felt like you weren't you couldn't be yourself at LaSalle. Like you were a traitor. Well, Trader Joe.
Well, I know you missed this part. They called me a traitor when I went to LaSalle too. That was that.
Too easy, bro.
Silly.
Yeah,
they were done with me. Like literally.
What do you want? Something better? Get out of here.
They were like, you went to LaSalle. Oh, you're selling out. Blah blah. I was like, all right, my parents.
I was thinking about like civil engineer Joe, but it's too easy, bro. Trader Joe. That's what it is. Trader Joe. Yeah, Trader Joe, bro. It's too easy.
Trader Joe, right? Effie, right? With the jersey on.
I told him before we came on, I'm like, bro, he's a traitor, bro. He's one for the Warriors instead of the Celtics. Get out of here.
Well, I did, and we
How did you end up? I mean, you couldn't even. I mean,
he should have been
different strokes, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, let me put a bow so that you can all the CF people will really enjoy this.
Sure.
I will. So. Again, I learned a little bit about racism. I remember this one girl was like, I hate when people speak other languages at a grocery store. I was like, bitch. I was like, however, to your point, Effie, I did feel slightly, because it's like the awkward teenage years of your life. I felt like if I speak up, I'm already the only person of color in the fucking class. These kids are all going to come after me. So I just was like, I was good. And I remember one guy and one girl in religion class, of all classes, they was like, why can't we call black people the N-word? They call us crackers. I was like, they asked the teacher. I was
it's ruder. It's
ruder. Did they say the N-word or they said it?
They didn't say it. They didn't say it. And I also remember there used to be like when they had sporting events at CF or at Shea. Oh, are you guys going to the soccer game? Oh no, it's in CF. We're gonna get shot. Like, no, that's literally verbatim what they said.
That's crazy.
No, that's literally
that's
like, fucking. That's
we're gonna get shot. I was like, oh my god, these kids were so sheltered. So I learned that like different types of people exist in this universe who are sheltered as fuck. And I will say, even if the people from LaSalle see this, half of them ain't doing shit with their lives because they didn't learn the value. They didn't learn the value of hard work. And my people from CF, all of them are killing it. I look at them and I'm like, yo, you guys really sorted it out. You guys were really able to get through, lack of funding and lack of available resources in school. And you guys are all doing your thing. So shout out to my people from CF because I feel across the board, they're all doing way better than most people I know from LaSalle. Most people I know from LaSalle were like, oh, my dad's rich already and my mom is rich. So we're going to do whatever. Like, we're not even going to get jobs. If we go to college, it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, one of the things that I learned is I always used to think, and we get trained this way in school to think that being intelligent is like a thing. Being intelligent is not a thing. Because if you're smart and you have no work ethic, you're going absolutely nowhere fast.
That's big facts, though.
Like, you're going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
See, that's where I'm that kind of like coming back around where, like, I'm like that weird in between. So, like, because I agree with you. I wasn't the top of my class at all, but I was probably.
I'll end the LaSalle part by saying I graduated in the top 10%. I got it together, and actually I was the top French student or the top world languages student in the class of 09.
Hey, turn up. Yeah, so like I can't say any of that shit academic wise. Maybe giving myself like credit, maybe like the top half, maybe. I mean, probably the bottom half. It would be realistic, but like that doesn't translate into like what you said, like. But I'm coming back on the other end of it where, like, yeah, Saints is more difficult than going to Shea or Tolman. It's like, it's just facts. Yeah. Like, it's definitely more challenging. Like, did I try as much as I could? No, I definitely did not. I was caring about, like, partying, getting with girls. And I would say that right now. Like, I was definitely the partier, like, more caring about football or sports. Like, I didn't give a fuck. And then I got
invited to 0 parties in high school because the kids from CF thought I was a traitor and the kids from LaSalle lived extra far. So I got invited to 0
That's
parties
crazy.
in high school.
Bro, I was partying my ass off. I was, bro, Bo knows, bro. I was partying my ass off, bro.
Oh, Lord,
and that's where it's like, all right, so like, I can see both sides of it. But like at the end of the day, though, I'm probably doing way more than the top 10% of my class. I mean, I'll say top 20% because we had a really smart class.
We had a smart class and some hard workers too. Yeah, some people willing to put the work in as well as being smart.
So there's definitely kids in my class doing good, but I'll probably put myself up with them of what they're doing right now. I'm like traveling, everything, like traveling, doing stuff I like being around people I like. So like overall enjoyment of my life right now, probably comparing everybody on that aspect of it. But like you said though, it's like but there's kids
top 10.
Yeah, right.
You can probably say top 10%.
Top 10. Like, but like there's other kids though, like compared to other classes though, like fucking Lisa's class or like other classes, those kids are doing nothing though. So like you said, at Salle, there's kids probably doing nothing with their lives where they had it all set up for them and didn't take advantage.
Right. And some like again,
because they knew they never had to.
Yeah.
Right. No disrespect to them. I mean, some of them are killing it and doing their thing, but it's just like shout out to my best friend from high school. She's a whole ass doctor. She literally, and she just had a baby that I'm the godfather to.
So she's not single then. Fuck.
No, she's married, but she just finished. And she's the one we met originally because she was cheating off of me in geometry class. Now she's a whole ass PhD.
That's crazy. That's what's up. Turn up.
She figured out.
All the way to the top, baby.
She figured out.
You can hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
You sound like a slut.
I also heard your theme song. Yeah, it was right in my ear.
Hey, let's go.
Oh, Brandon couldn't hear. Unless he was lying. He said he couldn't hear that shit.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, fucking lying ass.
So, like, she figured out, like, what she needed to do for work ethic. Because I would say she didn't graduate at LaSalle. I don't think she graduated in, like, the top 50% or whatever it was. She was definitely somewhere in, like, the middle range. Or, like, lower middle.
Shout out to the middle. Shout out to us in the middle.
She was, I will tell you.
Who figured it out.
She was the #1 basketball player at LaSalle. She was a top female basketball player. She got voted Rhode Island Gatorade Player of the Year for basketball.
Oh, that's what's up.
No shit. Cool.
Yeah.
Wait. You said your best friend, the doctor girl?
Yeah.
Doctor and Gatorade Player of the Year. Shout out to your best. What's her name?
You have to give me your info, bro.
Give her a name.
I get her on the podcast. I get her on the podcast.
Her name is Tori. She was Tori Jones before she got married. She's iconic. She's iconic.
Oh, hey,
she's iconic.
Get me your info. I'll get on the podcast.
I will. She's great.
I'm trying to get
her husband's super cool.
We'll do a fucking couples podcast, bro. Whatever.
Shout out to the Chapmans. The Chapmans are everything.
Are we gonna be a couple on that podcast? You and me. We're gonna interview them.
Yeah, fuck it, why not, bro? Fuck it. I don't give a shit.
But then, just to wrap up, like the educational, the California, put a bow on that. So LaSalle really prepared me super well for college. I felt like I never struggled in college. I graduated from Northeastern as a civil engineer with a 3.5. And so
that's what's up.
Yeah, 3.5. 3.5.
I will
say the mad cocky. Yeah, 3.5.
He said it like it was nothing, didn't he?
3.5, man. 3.5.
He said it like we all got 3.5s.
Well. So
how was that decision? So you can't skip over that decision, especially being Colombia. I know damn well when you're looking at colleges, your mom's probably like, she wants you to go to Rick, she wants you to go to URI, she wants you to go to somewhere close.
She wants you in arm's reach, Mom.
I would say my parents were like, my parents have always supported like almost everything I've done academically, but they never really involved. Like my parents, neither of them speak English, so like the college application process, I did it all by myself. Even like the FAFSA, all of that. So,
damn, LaSalle, where's your guidance counselors at?
For real, right? You're supposed to have somebody help you with that.
Guidance counselors, I will say, this is probably a hot take, but guidance counselors are trash because I think guidance counselors are gaslighters. I will say that, like,
Did you say they're gaslighters?
They are, because I'm like,
your
job is supposed to guide students to get to college and whatever college they wanted to. The ones at LaSalle, they treated me excellently, but I still have a sour taste in my mouth because they used to say to people I knew, "Oh, you're not going to get into that school." I'm like, your job is not to tell me that I'm not going to get into that school. Your job is to help me put forth.
Yeah, tell me what I need to get into it.
Right, but at the same time, they also did things to me like they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't apply to that school because you're much better than that," and I'm like. Okay, so
that's not for you to say.
That's not fair to say. But shout out to my people that went to URI. I mean, I remember when I was in college or at high school, I was ignorant AF. I was like, oh, I'm never going to URI.
Rams.
But URI is a wonderful school. People do their thing. People get the education.
For sure.
My sister went there.
Especially with TD.
Right, my sister was in TD too. Shout out to TD. I mean,
baby, let's get it. Shout out Bobby.
Shit, and you end up in like a financially better state and still a college degree than like what I did. My shit was $55,000 a year to go.
That's wild,
literally,
bro.
It was $55,000 a year.
Over 200,000 in debt. Wow.
My boss at my job when I first moved out here, he was from Northeastern too, and he had $125,000 in loans.
That's wild, bro.
I'm
sick.
Like, yeah.
Yo, you know how much I graduated with loans? Yes.
Sick. Less than zero? Nothing?
Bro, 17,000.
I've got more than that. I'm still paying off right now. I got 20,000. I got 20,000. I'm dealing with.
Bro, I paid up my loans already.
To get rid of it in another year.
I paid up my loans already.
Shout out to us paying before Uncle Biden cancels it. Because honestly, I'm gonna be bitter if he
I'm
does,
still
to be
gonna have to pay. I'm gonna still have to pay it without Biden's help. I looked into it. Biden's not helping me.
For real? That's what I was saying. 70,000. I don't give a fuck. I want that money back.
I want that money back.
I wouldn't have paid it. Yeah, I wouldn't have paid it.
I finished with 35, but I didn't end up getting.
Oh, that's a big ass flex, bro. He just said he paid 55,000 a year. I graduated at 35. That's a big flex.
I ended up getting a
wow, I didn't catch that. Wow.
What do you say?
I got a full academic scholarship to Northeastern, so
that's fire.
I just paid for housing. Yeah,
bro. So LaSalle definitely was. Yeah. So LaSalle was definitely worth it then, because
for sure.
I mean, you can get it from CF. I know someone just went to Harvard from CF like recently and stuff like that. You can, but the opportunities are better when you're coming from LaSalle or Hendricken or Saints.
That is a nice door to have open for you in the beginning.
The only thing that I was maybe like slightly a tinge bitter about is Brown will automatically admit valedictorians of any school.
That's crazy.
Oh, for real?
So if I had to
I was never an option for me, but that's kind of cool.
So I will say I was, like I said, I would have been, or allegedly, I don't know. People the people that I knew at CF were super, super smart. But if I had finished as valedictorian at CF, I would have been able to go to Brown. Instead, I got rejected from Brown, going to LaSalle.
Would you have went to Brown over Northeastern?
I don't think I would have been as exposed to different things. So I don't think I would have heard of Northeastern going to the CF. So
things happen how they should have.
Yep.
So when my parents were like, and I didn't need them to be involved in the college application process because I'm like pretty self-sufficient. So I was handling it. So they were fine with me going to school to Boston. Shout out to my parents though, because they never once flinched at $55,000 a year. They were like, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna support you, and you're gonna do whatever you need to do.
Damn.
To do that. So they were like, they didn't even blink. They were like, good, go to Northeastern, and they liked that it was close by. So then you were talking about how you were partying when you were in high school. I joined the party circuit when I was in college. I was a hot ass mess. I'm still a hot ass mess today, but I joined later on in life, and so I remember my parents. You know, like our parents, our Colombian people turned the fuck up. Like my parents were like the number one, and I remember when I was at family parties when I started drinking. I will always be a mess. I was like throwing up and shit. And so my kids were like, bro, like, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, I'm so sick of y'all.
I wasn't drinking until now.
Like, I have a family. If I can't be a mess, then when can I be a mess? You know, like, well, y'all can take care of me. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm moving to California. I literally said that to them. New Year's Eve 2013. I said, I'm moving to California. And I said it to be like petty. I was like, I'm moving to California just so I can be far away from
you. You didn't know at this point.
I didn't know at this point. I didn't know. And so then I was like, you know what? Maybe I really should look into it. And so I applied to one job, and then my friend got me that connection in San Diego because that's where she was at. And then when it came to, I said, guess what, Mom and Dad? I'm going to California.
Guess what?
They were like, they
manifested it.
They also didn't, they weren't bothered by it. I will say my grandmother, rest in peace, the first thing she said to me, and this is such a like fucking Colombian grandma thing. She goes, mijo, cuando yo me muera, no vas a llegar a mi funeral porque estás muy lejos. I was like, and that means you're going to be, when I die, you won't make it to my funeral because you live so far away. That was literally what she said to me. And I can attest to the fact that I did go to her funeral last year and I was on time.
Shout out to the older generations. They always want to keep you at arm's length so that when they die, you can be, But they're the ones thinking about that.
Yeah, but I'm the only one in my family who lives extra far away. So, like, they all were like, are you sure you want to do this? I was like, honestly, I will say the best part of that decision that I made is I never really thought about it. I was like,
bro, you just got to do it.
You got to take, the opportunity presents itself. You got to,
I was like, I got a job. And, like, I don't think I'll regret ever taking this job because I know I have to go back to Rhode Island and be with my family. But I would have regretted not taking the job because I would have been like, what would have happened then? What if I had moved to California? So I didn't think about it much beyond that. I said, I got a job, I'm moving out there, and bam, I did it. But I always knew through that conversation about work ethic, I was like, no matter what, I know I'm going to be a good worker, and I have great work ethics. I'm going to succeed regardless of whatever the situation is. And I think that's something that that's something that I really picked up from my time at CF, to be quite honest. Like, I knew that I had the tools. I knew that, like, I needed to do this so I could change my life for the better. And so that's how it happened.
Yeah, wrap them back around so I can bring back my CFers. You got to shit on someone and then bring them back and give them a compliment. So I'm kind of showing you guys a little bit earlier. Then at the same time, though, you need those like hard lessons and that hard environment to engage like Joe did, and he learned those values. Same thing with being from Providence or Pawtucket. Like, you know, it's literally the same shit. It's like a different city. Like that, like the aura around you guys. So like us, I grew up in fucking Providence too. So it's like, yeah, it's like tough growing up in those situations, and then like you learn from being in those situations, and you become the man you are.
And that's literally, and then like, you know, then you're living your adult life, and that also applies to that experience.
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot like you learn about life.
And I think being like, because we both went to Saints, so I'm not sure if you heard, we both went to Saints. You went to LaSalle. I think being in those, you know, environments, it definitely trains you to be. Like, I think for me, being, you know, Colombian, as you know, everything everyone knows at this point, you can be around any different type of ethnicity. I can be around white people, black people, Spanish people, and I can camouflage everyone. Bo can attest to that. I think everyone around, like, I can be around anybody, bro. Any ethnicity you are, I can be around you. And a lot of people can't be around that. Like, if people are from Providence, they can't be around they can be around white people or like anybody. Like it's just tough for them.
They only know how to be around what they grew up around. Yeah.
So like, being around that type of like high school, I can be around anybody, bro, and be around literally and talk to anybody.
For sure.
That's exactly right, because like that story I said about the people who in my high school who said that why couldn't they call black people the N-word, and the girl who said she doesn't like people speaking different languages.
It's a very sheltered person. Yeah.
It's a very sheltered person, but I realized that like people exist like that. So I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, let me go over and fight them and do whatever. Like, it's gonna be like, okay, I know who you are and I understand who you are. And I'm staying the hell away from you, but I'm gonna coexist around.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
and you learn how to do that.
But there's and there's people like that, I'm sure, that you know and that I know and that Bo knows. You can be around, they'd be like, what? They want to fight them immediately. It's like, bro, that's not going to get you nowhere. And they're not used to being around that type of environment, like those type of people.
Right. But then that's also like the corporate sugar mama situation. I would say I was around, it was like hella people from Europe that are all in sales and they make like millions of dollars. And I was just like, I was mixing it up with them. They were like, "Where did you come from? You're cool." Like,
we can say that
Colombia originally.
We can say that story. And quick story for this first podcast, bro. Like, touching on that, I went to school in New Orleans. I'm not sure if you even know that. I don't think I told you that. I went to school, the National Shooting Exchange, right in New Orleans. I told you. I never said this on the podcast yet. I was with these two kids. They're from Milwaukee. They were white, yes. And they were like, they thought I was white. And they were like, I don't know.
Whatever.
Some people think sometimes now and then. And they're like, we're hanging out. And when we first both get there, well, all three of us get there. They're best friends, whatever. And they're like, oh, where are you from?
They got too comfortable with you.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, like, you know, I'm from Rhode Island, but I'm Colombian. And they're like, oh, that's cool.
They don't even know what that is, really.
Yeah, they're like, they've never seen a Hispanic person. They don't know
Colombian, South American, or like, they don't know what it is. They're like, okay, that's like from somewhere on the East Coast, Colombia.
They said they never saw a Hispanic or a black person in their life.
Yeah.
The next day, they never talked to me ever again.
Yeah.
That was it. Crazy, bro. Yeah. It's crazy
because they don't know what to do. They don't. Yeah. It's a new, and because their impression of a brown or black person is what they've seen on TV, and any media or what they've seen on TV or what they've heard from their family is something completely like they've never like that interaction's never happened. You almost kind of have to feel bad because it's like. Well, you're missing out on a lot of life because your sheltered upbringing has made you. You close-minded and closed off to other. It sucks.
Quick question for you before we wrap up this first podcast. We'll follow up with a second one. Being Portuguese and he grew up in Seekonk. No way you knew that.
Around only white people.
Yeah. So like, how was going to Saints even like a culture shock for you? Like
a little bit, yeah. Because when it was weird initially growing up in Seekonk as kind of like an outsider. Because my family, aside from my mother grew up in Seekonk and then left and then came back. That's how I ended up in Seekonk. And she met my father, like when she was living in Pawtucket and growing up like outside after she graduated high school and so on. And so, when growing up in Seekonk, it was kind of like being an outsider within Seekonk because I'm Portuguese and outside of the subculture of Portuguese people that were in Seekonk. I was kind of like an outsider there, like from first grade on, and sort of had to ingratiate myself there. And so when I moved, I didn't move. I lived in Seekonk when I went to Saints. But when I went to Saints, it was a culture shock initially. But like because I had to learn how to ingratiate myself with people who didn't know me from the jump in Seekonk, I sort of learned how to do that in.
Were you Trader Bo?
What's that?
Were you Trader Bo?
I'm sure people from Seekonk have thought of that, because they like once I was like announcing like I was gonna go to Saints and not go to Seekonk, like people like that was like a very much like a sports like. Yeah, a sports decision. I wanted to play football.
Bo was pretty good at football.
Yeah, I wanted to play football. I wanted to play football for a place where like I might have an opportunity to go to a good school because I played football, and so that's why that's what kind of pushed my decision to go to Saints. And so a lot of people in Seekonk were like, oh, who here's this kid who's really good at defense, really good at like he'd be a huge, because when I was playing for like the youth program there. Like that was they had just started up again, the Seekonk Tigers, the youth program there. So it was the first time where the high school there was getting fed people, young kids who actually knew how to play football for the first time in a few decades.
Seekonk sucks though.
Exactly. So, but for the first time they were starting to get kids who actually knew how to play the sport, as opposed to just playing football for the first time when you enter high school. You know what I mean? So they were looking at people like from my class to be like, oh, here's the first class of kids who grew up playing football their whole life since they were 6, and now they're going to get into the high school and these. And shout out to those people. That class of kids were actually pretty good at Seekonk, but we played against them when we went to camp. We used to kick the shit out of them because it was like a school of 500 kids versus 1,500 kids in Seekonk. For all intents and purposes, we should have got the shit kicked out of us, but we never did.
But yeah, so like that's part of it. So like
talent goes where you have to pay money to go.
Yeah, for sure. But how did you like feed? How did you deal with like the minorities? I guess like did you like? Were you like I don't know. I don't know. I'm somehow.
I also
how'd you feel blended in? Like you felt cultured already coming into it. Like
not entirely, a little bit, because there was sort of more of it than what I was used to. But I also grew up like around Pawtucket. Like a lot of my family came from Pawtucket. I took from 6.
Shout out to the bucket.
From age 6 to
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
From age 6 to 22, I was taking karate and MMA classes in Pawtucket around. Like so, I'm introduced from age 6 on to Spanish and black kids, and I'm taking boxing and karate and so on and so forth. So I wasn't
sheltered.
I wasn't sheltered. Well, sheltered less so than most kids from Seekonk, but more so than kids who grew up in Pawtucket and Providence. So there was a bit of a culture shock, but because I was ingratiated a little bit more than people from where I was from, it was a shift that it didn't take too much effort for me to kind of be like, okay, I can get this. I can understand. I can ingratiate myself and make friends, and up until today I can make friends with whoever, wherever. Yeah,
I will say that Bo never had an issue definitely dealing with the minorities.
It's so funny though, because like that same line of questioning you're asking Bo is like people from CF have to be trained the opposite way. People from CF have to be trained to like know like not
ingratiate themselves with white people.
Yeah, no, literally I was like again, well, coming from CF when I went to LaSalle, it's like, oh shit, there's hella white people here. This was a whole new environment.
Yeah.
And it was like I had to get used to the fact. Like I remember when I first moved to the U.S., we used to do this thing at El Risk where like they used to call out your name for attendance in the morning, and you have to tell them what lunch option you wanted. And I remember being like, "What the hell are these people saying?" Like it was like you either said, they were like they'll call your name and they'll say, and you have to say hot or cold lunch. And I remember I was like, what the hell? But all the kids in my class spoke Spanish. They were like, oh, this is what you got to do. I was like, oh, okay. So it was cool. They all spoke Spanish.
Then you went to the Salle and you're like, the only person
to speak Spanish.
Yo, it was funny as hell, too. They used to ask me for help with their Spanish homework, and I still tell the story to this day. They used to be like, Joe, give us a sentence. And I used to be like, el perro tiene hambre. He used to be like, what? And then I used to be like, el perro tiene hambre.
Yeah. Okay.
The stark contrast to that was at Saints, we had Spanish kids who were like making like, you know, international language academic all-Americans because they speak Spanish and they're taking Spanish classes. That happened all the time.
My older brother did that. He took Spanish at LaSalle and they had to create a whole class for him because he was too advanced.
Yeah, he's too advanced.
By himself.
Yeah.
He's got to write a novel in Spanish now.
No, so most people take AP Spanish, but it's AP Spanish language. Nobody really takes AP Spanish literature because you have to write full ass essays in Spanish. And so
yeah.
It was him and one other Colombian girl in the class, and he ended up taking the AP exam and got the highest grade in the whole state.
Damn, that's crazy.
He got like a medal
that's
for it.
Still sick. You still have to write something compelling.
No, yeah. I remember he told me it was like he used to have to like read stuff that was like old Spanish where it was like hints of Portuguese in it still, and he said it was like really, really interesting. Yeah.
Oh, that's different.
That's weird.
Yeah. So we just got into whole Joe's, I guess, like childhood, high school life. Yeah. We're gonna cut this off. We have a part 2 with my boy Joe from SF, the city SF, and we'll get part 2 will be his now 20s and on, and we'll get into his partying, his San Fran, his Gen Z hate.
Oh shit, we haven't even gotten to that.
We get to his Gen Z hate. We'll get into his bar experience. He was the ultimate guide in SF when I went there a couple months ago, 2 months ago at this point. He was a great guy. We'll get into all that type of shit. Him love being a host, being a great host at that. His Trader Joe aura of choosing the Warriors over the Celtics. More coming on part 2 of my guy Joe from SF and my guy Bo from EP now. Seekonk. Well, Seekonk originally, he has beef with Seekonk. We get to that next week.
I don't have beef with Seekonk. I just don't live there.
Yeah, and now he's EP born, well, EP raised now at this point, and we're paying tax dollars. EP.
That's where my taxes go. Yeah.
I used to work at EP, actually.
We'll get to that next too in part 2 of conversation with my guy Joe YARR on Instagram. Let's get it.